Wow, wow, wow. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to be here. We have such an amazing and a powerful episode. And so while we get ready to come on, I want you guys to come in, make yourself comfortable, kick your feet off, kick your shoes off. And I want to engage you all today. This is Fly Nubian Money, where we help you to master your mindset and maximize your money. Now, I'm your host, Constance Carter, and today we are going to explore something that hits really, really close to home for many of us. It's how to deal with toxic and loveless upbringings. Now, as a mother, this is a topic that I really hold dear to my heart because you try to be intentional as a mother when you are dealing with your children and when you're raising your children, because it is an awesome responsibility to raise children, especially in today's environment. But we are going to explore how those childhood experiences can impact our self-esteem, our self-worth, relationships, and then ultimately financial decisions as adults. We often hear the phrase that hurt people hurt people. It's true. But what happens when that hurt is something that is carried for a lifetime? We are going to unpack how growing up with toxic and dysfunctional parents affects how we set boundaries. It affects how we advocate for ourselves. It even affects our values when we're or our value when we're at work. We have an amazing panel of guests today, including Dr. Alicia. What's up, Dr. Alicia? She is a therapist, a coach, a strategist, and everything else in between. Healer. Listen, I love that, Dr. Alicia. I love that. So when I go before you, I will come out healed, right? And she is confident in that thing. So that means it's real. And then we have Joe Corley. He said I can call him whatever I want today. We'll call him Dr. Joe. What's up, Dr. Joe? What's cracking, Big Mackin'? You good? Period. And then we have the brilliance coach and monetization strategist. This is my girl, my dog, my day one, Dr. Lene Javette. Now, I want to get into it. This, again, like I said, this rings close to my heart because I got four kids. I got 3 boys and 1 daughter. And I'm telling y'all, I don't know about you guys. And I do know this about y'all because I spent enough time and I think I have enough equity with all of you to know for sure that for all of you, raising kids is such an awesome responsibility, isn't it? It's like the best job in the world. And I know that we probably all, have the same sort of the same viewpoints. We all have different perspectives, but the same viewpoints on, the approach to raising our children so that they can be the best that they can be. But there are things that children face every day that our children probably don't face, but we're going to discuss it. I want to roll this video just so we can kind of set the tone for the conversation.
Raising children, what are signs that a parent should fix sooner rather than later?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Good question. Here are a couple of things that we want to go for. We want our children to make sure our children know they are loved. Whether that's demonstrative love, affirmative love, we want to make sure they know that they're loved. We want to make sure that they know that they're safe, that they're protected. In the home, out the home, in the street. Your kids got to know if they call you and you're in trouble, they're in trouble, that you may beat their butt later, but you're going to show up, with the wielding the machete now. They want to know that they're safe. They want to know that they're competent. And that's where so many parents fall down. We do it for our kids as opposed to giving them the room and the space to do it and learn how to do it and fail and fall down and get up again. They want to know that they're competent, otherwise they'll become codependent. And we want them to know that they're resilient, that they can have loss and recover, that they can fall down and get up to come back. And I think where most parents fall down, or they think the kids know they're loved, even though the parent never says it. Because as a parent, we think, I'm feeding you, ain't I?
Right.
I'm clothing you, ain't I?
Right.
You got toothpaste and toilet paper.
Right.
That's love.
Right? I feeding you, ain't I? You got food every day. But you know what it reminds me? I remember having a conversation. So now my spouse grew up very different than we have our dynamic, our dynamic was very different. It was always funny because our parents, my mom knew his mom since we were babies. They worked at IBM together. So they knew each other before we even got together. So they had a personal relationship. But it was always funny at Thanksgiving when the dynamic of his family, which is much different than my family. You see me. We clowning, we having a good time. His family sitting over there very quiet, very reserved. But I remember one time when he shared with me, he said to me, "You liked coming home from school when you were growing up?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like my house was lit. You didn't?" He was like, "I hated it. I hated it." And that was like, really? And it spoke a lot to how he was and how he interacted with the children, is because of that dynamic of how he was raised in his household. For you, what was it like, Dr. Alicia? We'll start with you. Ray, and I have a little bit of idea because when last time you talked about it, I was like, shit, I want her life. This is what I was trying to do for my kids. But I want you to share with our audience, like, what it was like for you. Did you grow up in a dysfunctional family or?
Man, I'm the child of two therapists. So it was a lot of openness. It was a lot of how was your day? It was a lot of interaction. And that was just my normal upbringing. And I also grew up with parents who were healers, just as I am. So think about it. I grew up in Gary, Indiana in the 80s. Think about all that was happening in the 80s in Gary, Indiana. Crack cocaine, poverty, the steel mills were closing down. People were losing their jobs. I spent time with my dad in Tuskegee, Alabama, birthplace of the Tuskegee experiment, syphilis experiment. And my dad was down there doing a lot of work there for healing. So I really got the sense for, I guess, in the trenches, so to speak, about what a lot of people were experiencing back then. And I want to make a comment. Can I comment on the Iyanla Vanzant, or should I just wait till later?
I just want to kind of get an idea of your childhood.
Okay,
first.
I'll get an idea of my childhood, but I do have some thoughts on Iyanla.
Yeah. Okay. What about you, Joe?
It was more of like passing down of trauma for me. My mother, had I watched her be abused. She had kids early. So I watched her like really work very, very hard to provide a life for us, more of a life that she didn't have. And so that what you do as a child, you take that on, and you start wanting to contribute or feeling like you have to contribute, or you feel like you're a burden for being here. And then you turn around and you pass that on to your children if you're not aware. So it was more like that for me. And my father wasn't around after 5 years old. So, then I'm wondering about that and dealing with a stepfather. Everybody in the house has a different last name than me. So these type of things is what, is kind of shaping who I am until I got, into therapy and start really unpacking it.
Wow. What about you, Dr. Lene?
My childhood, I would say, I'm trying to decide if I would say I have trauma. So if we're talking about from a parental standpoint, from my mom's side, I don't think I really had any. From my dad's side, so I was raised, I knew my dad my entire life. My whole life I knew my dad, but he wasn't necessarily in my life, right? So I always say he never bought me a pencil, he never disciplined me, things of that nature. But I've known him my entire life. My grandmother kind of was the person who kept me connected in that way. So I definitely had daddy issues, looking for love in all the wrong places, didn't really understand or know myself. I was always in search of something that it was like this hole that I could never fill. And because of it, it just made me lash out, make bad choices, bad decisions. I've told you guys about David Herbert, who's called me big, black, and ugly when I was in 6th grade. So I had self-esteem.
We still want to ride on his ass.
Listen, I had self-esteem issues. I flunked out of 9th grade. So now I'm not that smart. Flunked out of 9th. But even when I flunked out of 9th grade, it wasn't due to not being smart. It was due to hanging out with boys. So it wasn't like I wasn't smart. Because I was able to make up the 9th and 10th grade. In 10th grade, moved to Arizona. I went back to regular school for 11th and 12th and graduated on time with the 3.67. But I was just lost when I was younger. So my traumas come from, I say, little Lene being not feeling worthy, not knowing who she was, not feeling loved, not having that dad presence, looking for love in all the wrong places, just abusing myself. Me abusing myself. I hurt me more than anybody else hurt me when I was younger.
Ooh. And
That's
they
what
say hurt people, but you hurt yourself more
and
than
then turned
anybody
around and
else.
hurt people. Yeah, because I as you get older, you don't want to be the victim. So you, as a hurt person, right? And I'm young and I'm thinking all these things about other people. Right about like 19, 20, 21, I found out I was cute. So now I become the abuser. Now I'm treating these people like you ain't, you know what I'm saying? Because what was the song say? Back then you didn't want me. Now I'm hot. You all up on me. So mentally things change, and now I'm a beast.
Wow. We got to unpack that. I want to talk more about that. And I also want to talk about the video with the Yanla, because I think that is really important, especially as we, approach raising children. Again, raising children is such an awesome responsibility. I got 4 of them motherfuckers, and they are the dopest, amazing, laziest, trifling ass, wonderful human beings I've ever met in my life. Them Negroes are the shit, and they are some shit at the same time. But we're going to talk about it in a minute. Let's go to commercial.
Hey, if you're just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. I am Tierra Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, and I am the proud producer of this show. So I hope that every day when you join us, you leave a little smarter than you came, because that's the point. Otherwise, why are you watching? So if you want to receive notices for when we go live, Fly Nubian Money goes live every single day. That's Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you don't know, now you know. All you have to do is text the word Queens. That's Queens. That's Queens to 87948. That's 87948. That's Queens to 87948. Yes? If you want.
Listen, y'all, if y'all don't text the word Queens to 87948, this might be my last time on this podcast. So I need y'all to get on there right now. Not now, but right now, text the word Queens to 879. You heard how many times she said it. Text the word Queens to 87948, y'all. All right, so I do want to talk about the video with Iyanla because it is so important how we approach these children, what we pour into them, the things that we say, I had a really great father, y'all. My dad is dope. He's the best man I've ever met in my whole entire life. And I model my parenting after him. And so like when my brother was raising his children, I used to be like, dude, you're a C- father. Like he did just enough. I'm here, ain't I? He's like that. I'm here, ain't I? And it's like, you were exposed to a wonderful father. Like, how can you be a C- dad? What do you think about the idea, Dr. Alicia, of just like, I'm here, ain't I, as a parent? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I see this a lot with parents. Sometimes they feel like if I show my child how much I love them and indulge in them in that way, there's this mentality where they think I'm not preparing them for the world. If I have to be hard on them, or when they leave out of this house, they're not going to be prepared for what's to come in this world. So sometimes they feel like they have to be really, really hard and tough and stern with their children as a way of protecting them when they are out into the world. And I get that mentality. However, to prepare them for what's going to happen, because what we need to understand is that your children are always going to experience pain. Pain is something that is inherent in all of us, in our experiences, right? Even inside the house and outside the house, you will experience pain, but you do not have to suffer from it. And how you stop somebody from suffering is you make them resilient. You have them where they feel good about themselves and they feel confident that they can make their own decisions. And you need to be confident in your parenting skills. So it has to be, you give your children discipline, which is love. Discipline is love, but abuse is not love. And when she talked about how to make them feel loved.
Wait. Well, let me, because you said they want to, they're going to experience pain. They shouldn't have to experience in the household, right?
Well, you're going to experience pain. Pain is
you don't got to inflict the pain on your kids, right? Like that's
well, listen, I'm talking about consequences. So I tell my child, okay, my daughter will come to me and say, I want to go to the movies. And I'll say, show me where all your homework is done. You know, and then they'll say, I say, oh, you have a missing assignment. You can't go to the movies. Finish your work and then you can go. That's painful.
Got it.
And I'm like, I know that's upsetting and that's painful.
But we don't gotta bully our children so that they can be tough for the world, though, right?
Consequences. Like, dang, I'm not being able to get it. Or things happen outside at school on the bus. Things happen that's unfortunate, but you still have to give them a safe place to talk about it. Oh, I know that made you really upset. You missed that movie with your friends. Be there for them, to empathize with them. That doesn't mean you agree with them. Yeah. Whenever someone comes to you with a hard situation, those hard situations is embedded in the human experience, but they need a place to process it. Even if you deliver consequences for their behavior, they need a place to talk about. Tell me how you feel. You're really looking forward to that movie. What things can you do to make it so that you can go to the movies the next time? What can we do together? But you still have to give them the consequences and to experience that pain. The suffering happens when you are abusing them, when they take that pain and they oh my God, when they're not able to process all of that pain and they feel like there's something wrong with them and they go out and they act all of it out. They have these cognitive distortions. They feel terrible about themselves. That's how they suffer in life.
Right. No, that's real. And I 100% agree with you is we got to show them consequences, but we don't have to give them, we don't got to bully them in order to show them the consequences of their actions, because we have to we got to create boundaries.
They have to feel like they matter.
They got that.
If their feelings and their thoughts matter, then they themselves matter.
100%. When I was growing up, it was I had this dichotomy because my dad was very meek and gentle and mild, and my mama was the best cusser in the world. My mama could cuss my mama she's here right now. She cussed the best. And so I still don't know how to like make it roll off my tongue like she do. And I was always teased a lot in my house. Like they call me fat and they just talked about my brother was just mean. So when I went out in the world, couldn't nobody say shit to me that hurt my feelings because I got it inside the house. Dr. Lene, for you, how was it for you growing up inside the house, and I know that you said that kind of translated in how you treated other people, but like even getting up in the morning and how you did your day, and how did that affect you?
When I was younger, I was bullied a little bit. Like I was bullied. I can only really remember and think of like two bullies. One, I think was like 6th grade. It was this girl that I was really good friends with. Her cousin was the bully. And then of course I go back to David Herbert because that was traumatizing for me. that I can think of. Those are my only 2 bullies. But when you're talking about bullying as a parent, in full transparency, I was a bully, like to my son. He tells me all the time as an adult, and I'll tell you why. My grandmother had 5 girls and all her girls had girls. And then all of us had boys. So there's no men, no brothers, no male cousins, no anything of that like that. And I did not want to have kids. I didn't want to have kids. And I didn't think I was going to be a good mom. That was one of the reasons why I didn't want to have kids. I knew myself. I was selfish and I'd already been traumatized myself. I just didn't feel like it was going to be a good match for me to have a kid. And so by the time I have a kid, I am I'm unbalanced. I'm over pouring. I'm over delivering. I'm doing all the things. I am trying to be nice.
Overcompensating.
Thank you. I'm overcompensating. That's the exact word. I'm overcompensating in gifts and money and time. And so I'm using words to make me be more authoritative. So I would tell him things like, if you don't stop, I'm gonna chop you in the neck or something like that. And the reality is I'm not going to chop him in the neck. So what I showed him was that my words don't mean anything. If you don't stop doing that, you're not going to do this. And then I don't do it. So I'm using bully words, but I'm not actually giving consequences. And so even to this day, like we're having a thing right now where I'm letting him know he's 24. And I'm like, you are being cut off on the 1st. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, no, I know you don't believe me because I have not kept my word with you, but you are an adult now. And I just want you to fully understand that when this first comes and you get cut off, whether you starve, whether your phone gets turned off, whatever happens, I'm going to have to let it play out because I do not want you to be in the same position when it comes. And I'm sorry that I've let it go on this long, but you have to learn how to stand on your own 2 feet. And I just keep saying it to him. I just keep saying it to him. And I just keep saying it to him. Like, it's going to be a rude awakening for you. You are 24 and you're just having this experience because he'll throw it back in my face. Well, when I was 16 and I wanted to do this, you said I couldn't. And he's right. I was like, I got the money. So I didn't make him work. I didn't make him do all these things. I bullied him. I overcompensated for him because I moved him from his dad to Arizona.
You bullied him?
But like with words, like trying to be like, you're going to listen to me. So bully, like with words, not in that kind of a way. And now I'm seeing the repercussions of those things, not keeping my word, not following through what I said I was going to do. He's an only child. And I thought I was gonna be a bad mom. So I have both of those things working against me. An only child, I'm overcompensated. I moved him from his dad. And now I'm trying to do all the things. And it is just, I completely understand how even when you try to do the right things, it can still come out toxic.
Yeah. But you know what? This is what you got to do, Dr. Lene. You have to just continue to explain that I've done the best that I absolutely can do as a mother. I'm giving you the tools that I had, that I know. And it's not for a lack of trying. It's certainly not for a lack of trying. I did the best that I knew how to do with what I had. And I tell my kids every day that I'm going to punch them in the face. I tell them every single day, I'm going to punch them in the face. Do I punch them in the face? No. Do they actually believe I'm going to punch them in the face? Absolutely not. But I still tell them I'm going to punch them in the face. So, I mean, it's just that thing we do with our kids, right? That's harmless.
I think it's sad. Well, and I think when you have multiple kids, they're playing off each other. When you only have the one and they're already kind of feeling like lonely and isolated, and then you're talking to them that way, and it's just not sure. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so now that he's older, we talk about it a lot, and I can go back and see how certain things played out and certain things that I said or certain things that I did. And I wish I had felt more confident in being a mother back then. I think it would have played out better in how I raised him.
But to the doctors, right? To Joe and Dr. Alicia, don't you think that if her, like, even though we make mistakes as parents, her telling them, I'm doing the best that I could do, that makes it goes a long way, right? Like, yeah, we make mistakes. I'm not the best. I didn't messed up. And they know, I know, but they know my intention. They know my heart. I'm riding for y'all. Everything I do is for you guys, There's
no perfect childhood.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. There's no perfect
family.
There's no perfect relationship.
Yeah.
There's no perfect anything. But what you can do is, Ayana Van Zant said, if I can say her name correctly, is a safe space. Talk about, oh goodness, I messed up. I certainly messed up. Tell me, how did that feel for you? Just being able to have self-awareness and insights, and to ask people, what was that like about you? Remember, things go awry all the time, but it's to stop it from turning into trauma, because trauma is not, I think the trauma is when something happens to you and it was upsetting. That's not trauma. Trauma is when you don't have a place to talk about it. So bad things can happen, but how are you all talking about this as a family?
Right.
How are you as the parent being able to talk about and process all of that? That's the key that helps people to grow and learn, instead of burying it deep inside, and it distorts your view of how you see the world, how you see yourself. You don't want any of that.
Yeah. And I think that the things that happen to us are things that happen for us, and it's all in how we're able to navigate. Even with the trauma that's happened in our childhood, what do we do as adults? And Dr. Joe, I really want to talk to you after the break about how to navigate that. Dealing with toxicity and dealing with trauma. How are we able to navigate that as adults? Because so many people are stuck. I talk to people all the time. Me and my sister grew up in the same house, and we have very different outlooks on how we approach things. So I want to talk a little bit more about that when we come back from the break.
You want to grow your money and not blow your money, as Constance says, check us out at flynubianmoney.com. There's all kinds of resources, programs, videos, resources. In 2024, there's no reason to be broke when there's information all around us. So get your money right. flynubianmoney.com.
Joe, don't play with me. Don't play with me right now. You.
I'd be
Okay.
happy to see Joe just so I get them
No, no,
jazz
no.
hands.
Right. I just.
That's it. That's all you're getting from me.
Let's talk really about how to unpack that trauma, of toxic childhood, because a lot of us today are stuck in place.
Mhm.
My sister, I love her. She's such a dope person. And I used to think when I was growing up, I used to think, oh my God, she's gonna be famous. She's so smart. She's so talented. She could draw. She could write. But she never finishes anything. And now she has like anxiety really bad. And my mom and daddy be going over to her house at 3 o'clock in the morning because she suffers from these panic attacks. When we were just a few months ago, we were at my grandmother's house. We were at the hotel and she had one. And I was like, what the hell am I supposed to do? And so I'm like, you need to go to therapy. She refuses to go to therapy because she doesn't want to unpack whatever that was there. Now we're in the same household. We grew up in the same house. We've had experiences and I've shared a little bit about some of my experiences, but she don't want to talk about it. And so she deals with it a lot different. And for her, cause her to be stuck in a lot of areas in her life. She's 5 years older than me. But how do we get from that unstuckness? And how can I convince somebody like her to like get help?
Okay, so the first thing is understanding that there is no time machines, right? So you did what you did, okay? And like going back to what you was talking to Dr. Lene about telling her kids that she did the best she could, I would say that she needs to tell herself that first,
Come on.
because okay, you did the best you could with what you had, and now you want to try to give yourself some grace, some understanding, some forgiveness for where you are currently in life. Okay, now whatever your kids take from that, they are their own people, but you have to first manage your own shame, your own guilt around the things that you're doing, and how your kids are turning out, and then recognize that you did what you did because you had what you had, and you want to go back and look at some of the things that you have been into or that happened to you. Like that's one of the first steps, right? Going back and looking at some of the things that happened to you so that you can forgive yourself for where you are now, and release some of the guilt and some of the shame about where you are now. How do you convince somebody like your sister to go get help? You don't. Okay. You don't. She's a grown woman, and convincing another adult, another grown person to do something that they necessarily don't want to do is only going to cause you stress. You said what you said. You showed her by example, and you said, "Hey, you let her know up front. You need help. Go get it." After that, what you going to do? You're going to drag her.
You just pray.
You just pray. That's it. I mean, you say what you say. You lead her the way you need to lead her. You're empathetic. You're listening. You're giving her grace.
Do I keep continuing to, just broach the conversation from time to time? Hey,
Well, it depends. How much is she bringing it to you?
Mom, well, she does have these panic attacks like, bro, shit, maybe every other week now.
Is
And
she
so,
bringing it to you though?
no. And so what happens is, what I told her is, if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for our parents, because my parents are 70 in their 70s. They got to get up out their bed and go to your house and sit with you. That's not fair to them. You know what I'm saying? Like my mama shouldn't.
How did that work? When you
She
told her
said,
that?
okay, then maybe I will, but never came back to it. Doesn't really want to deal with it.
Right. So that's my point. Like at some point, you have to start understanding that she's an adult, you're an adult, and you're going to start stressing yourself out trying to get an adult to do something that they don't want to do. And once you start setting that boundary and letting her know, hey, I'm not your therapist. Okay. I'm not your therapist. And I don't want to hear this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then you just kind of start running out of excuses and places to go, that because you're not helping. You're running out of places, you run out of excuses. So now she has no choice but to go seek help. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's more like, take care of yourself in this situation. Take care of yourself, and can constantly keep reminding yourself that, if she doesn't go get help, that ain't on you. That ain't your fault. That's not one thing that you didn't accomplish. That's not what that is. And,
Yeah.
and that's all you can do.
Yeah. 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 And we had a conversation over when I was there for Thanksgiving, and my daughter. So I use her as an example a lot of times to my kids to not waste their talent. And so it kind of came out. So she was really mad at me because she's like, I think you use me as an example of what not to do for your kids. I do, because I'm like, she is so amazing, and you don't want to go to the end of your life and think and look back and think, man, I should have did this, I could have did this, I would have did this. So we had a really knockdown, drag out situation when I went home. I mean, she was crying, and she was just like, I just want my niece to love me. I don't want her to judge me, which I felt really bad about, because I felt like, okay, I'm being a bad sister. But I want more for her. And that's the thing, is like, but you can't want more for somebody than they want for themselves. You know what I'm saying? I do want to go to the video about the young men, though, the things, because I have 3 kids, right? And I definitely want to speak to what that does in society for how Black men are made, and how they navigate in relationships, just by doing some simple things. Let's look at that video.
One study shows that boys need 6 times more hugs than girls.
Wow. Wow.
Because the hugs also develop our emotional aspect of who we are as human beings.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. A number of men believe that the entirety of masculinity is protect and provide. And when men contextualize their masculinity like this, I ask them the same question. Are you able to provide a space of emotional safety for the people around you? And are you able to protect the people around you from the worst version of yourself? This is also the reason why people will say boys are easier to raise than girls. Because we have internalized this socio-cultural perception that is reinforced by men, that boys do not need as much emotional protection as girls do. Because boys are supposed to provide that protection, therefore they need to be hardened so that they can deal with what's going on in the world. But I want to ask the question, where has that gotten us? Black men have exorbitant rates of substance abuse. The top 5 killers of Black men are all stress or anger related. The unaliving rate for Black men is skyrocketing. But yet and still, we contextualize being emotionally vulnerable with one another as something that's either homosexual or feminine to us in this regard. The reason why these little Black boys is not getting these hugs, and the reason why these little Black boys is not getting this love, is because we as grown-ass Black men cannot separate the difference between relational love and romantic love. We cannot differentiate between relational intimacy and sexual intimacy. For the love of God, I pray that my brothers are released from the shackles of homophobia to the point where it impacts their mental health. Because a lot of y'all are more scared of being gay than being predators. A lot of y'all are more scared of being gay than being emotionally dead. A lot of y'all are more scared of being gay than not having an emotional depository, aka women, to place your trauma into. Learn how to deal with that shit, good buddy.
Yo. Now that right there was a whole sermon that I could shout around the church and my house on. And I want to ask the audience, as you're watching this, how does this relate to you? Because I think most of the people that watch us are Black. And how have you been able to navigate your lives based upon that trauma that maybe you experienced during your childhood? Were you hugged as a child? Did you get that love? I got 3 boys, y'all. I do. And I talk about them all the time. And one thing, like, they knew every time, like when they were probably 3 years ago, probably up until 2 or 3 years ago, every time they passed by me, they had to hug me. So they would just come over there and just be like, Mom, go ahead and hug me. Now I can't get them motherfuckers to hug me for shit. And I'd be like, so the other day when I was in California, I kissed my oldest son on the lips while he was asleep. When I tell you, that little ninja was hot, 50 hot. He was so mad. And so then I heard them downstairs talking. I really hate when mom does that. But who does that? Who kisses their son on the lips? And then my other son, I hate when she does that too. And I'm upstairs getting dressed. And then I don't cuss at my kids, but I cussed them out. I said, fuck y'all. I did. Dr. Alicia, you're going to have to forgive me. It really hurt my feelings, actually, because I just wanted to show them Negroes some affection. They didn't want it from me, but so how, for you all, I know everybody on the panel has boys, and he talks about them needing hugs. I try. What do you do for these little Negroes that don't want to give you hugs back? Dr. Alicia.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay, I didn't know. I wanted to make sure I didn't jump in. Okay, so yeah. So, why don't you talk to them about physical touch? Because that's every man I talk to. We talk about love languages, and their love languages are for men mostly is physical touch. But
maybe they don't want it from their mama then, huh?
They probably don't want it from their mom in that way. So you may want to ask them, physical touch. It could be a pat on the back. They don't want to smooch and hug with their mom because they smooching and hugging with other women. That's what
at this point, yeah.
So they're associating that with stuff. So you could give them a pat on the back. You can do the
attaboy.
And you want to be careful when you kissing your grown sons on the mouth anyway when they hunching with women. So just be careful.
I know. I just look, the lips were so juicy sitting there, and I just was reminded when they were little.
The thing is that in your head, I get it. They're like the cute little kid. They're little boys. I see my son who's 6'9" at this point. Big grown 21-year-old man, but I still see this 5 and 6-year-old kid. I can't release myself from it. And I hate that the fact that he's growing up and getting bigger and doesn't need that type of thing. So what children need from you as they grow up changes and adjusts. So maybe when he was tiny little thing, he needed a little kiss in the lips, but now he does not need it. So talk to him about what would be comfortable for him and what would it be needed. It could be a handshake. It could be a side hug. It could be a fist bump. It could be a high five.
Let me tell you the positive response I got last night. I went up in my son's room. I said, "What up, dog?" He said, "What up?"
Yeah.
I guess
that's younger adult Black boy version of a hug. It's okay. It's hard to adjust to children. Like sometimes I feel so needy myself that I'm like using my kids for hugs if I need a hug, So, you do need to have a conversation with them because you don't want them to run when they see you coming.
Right.
Oh, here she comes.
That's where they at right now. Right. I come this way, they go.
How old are your sons, Constance?
16, 18, and 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that age. They're getting into women.
I know. I hate it. Dr. Lene, what about you? Did you have a habit of giving your sons hugs? Did that make a difference? What is that like? And does he still allow you to hug him today?
Oh yeah. Like I think we have a good dynamic as far as that goes, the love and whatnot. When he does come to the house, he'll come by and he comes see me and give me a hug. And so yeah, the hugging and all of those things have always been there. When we talk, so this is kind of hopefully on point. When we talk about things that have happened to us and or how we want to react and deal with our children, my relationship with my dad impacted, in my opinion, a lot of how I dealt with and mothered my own son, wanting to make sure that he didn't have the same experience that I had, right? And so it was important for me to make sure that he had a really good relationship with his dad. And so in doing that, it also when we're parenting, we literally parent based on our own traumas. Like, I have this experience that I had. I want to make he does something different than this. And so we try to manipulate life to make sure that our own traumas are not then passed down to our children so that they have the same traumas that we have. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have the same traumas that I have. He has different ones, but traumas,
and they all will, right?
You cannot not have trauma. I mean, maybe you can, but
we try to mitigate that as parents, though. We try to, but it just,
but they still appear. That's the crazy part. They still appear, and they're different. So I'm like, well, how do I deal with this one? Because I didn't have that one. I don't know how to help you with that one. So what do you do? Right. But the love is not an issue. Hugging and all those things. I'm super blessed that we have that.
You're lucky. And I be saying, such and such be hugging their mama. Such and such still kiss their mama. They be like, I'm not such and such. Like, I hate y'all. That's why I threaten to punch him in the face every day. Joe, do you think it's, you know what? Let's go to commercial and I'll ask you when we come back from commercial because I don't want to get my ass beat.
Fly Nubian Money is now on Spotify. Yes. We are on Spotify. So if you can't watch us, you can listen to us. All you have to do is search Fly Nubian Money and we will appear. All of our episodes. Make sure that you leave a 5-star rating and review so other people that come along and are looking for a good show to watch, they'll follow us too. If you are interested in being on Fly Nubian Money, sorry, I don't have any spaces. I'm just playing. If you are interested in being a queen or a king on Fly Nubian Money for the day, please reach out to me. I'm at info@realvirtual.net. That's info@realvirtual.net. Also, if you need help with your business, go ahead and send me an email for that too. Okay. I've said enough. Now back to the show.
This is such an amazing conversation. And for those of you who just joined us, we are talking about how healing from your past trauma can help you make more money. Because at the end of the day, this is the Fly Nubian Money, where we want to help you to master your mindset and maximize your shmoney. And we always want to talk about things that are related to you. We know that, we know what you look like. We know who you are. And we know that we kind of face some similar things. We're not a monolith, but we face some similar things as African Americans in our community, in and out of our community. There's trauma inherently that we have as Black people, period. But we're talking about the trauma that you have inside of your house and how to mitigate that, right? Because just like Dr. Lene said, we try extremely hard. It don't matter. Like we done everything that we could to make sure our children had the least amount of trauma, and they still look at so you know what, Dr. Lene, let's kick her out. You just brag.
Not bragging. I was like, he's about to leave. I told y'all behind the scenes, he's about to leave with his dad. And I was like, you want to give me a hug? Talking about kids giving.
You know what I'm gonna do? Let me tell you something. I'm going to record that. I'm gonna screen record that. I'm gonna send that to these raggedy ass ninjas that I got up in this house too. I'm sending that to them.
That's just one. Listen, today is a good day, because another day it could be.
How old is your son? How old is your son?
My son's 24.
24. Listen, they'll grow out of it, Constance. It's a phase.
Prayerfully. Because you're right. They are starting to, like, oh, mama, you know what I be doing? No, I don't want to know. But as a Black man, right, just like that man said, we are so scared. Men are so scared of being homosexual than they are of being vulnerable. How do you relate with your children in terms of your affection, your vulnerability, especially your sons specifically? How are you able as a Black man to deal in that space, Dr. Joe?
Well, first thing is, like I've been saying from the screaming from the rooftops, there's a lot of things that have to be unlearned. And we all have to do that. There's a generation of Black men that just really need to unlearn a lot of things related to what he was talking about. So for me, as I'm starting to unlearn and unpack, because nobody hugged me as a child. My father wasn't around. He wasn't present. My stepfather really was kind of an asshole. So I didn't have that. So I'm really learning the father-son relationship from one side of the street. You know what I mean? So I'm asking my children, I'm talking to my kids about, what it's like to have a father, what it means for me to be here. What kind of ways am I showing up that is not necessarily cool with, and things like that. And we having those conversations. And they consistently lift me up. My relationship with both of them is different. My older son got the more broken version of me, and my younger son is getting the, as I'm going through his formative years are through my healing journey. So he's seeing that, and we've had conversations about that and what that looks like. So what I'm doing now is making sure that I'm being open to, ready to apologize where apology is necessary, ready to take accountability where it's necessary, but also standing firm on my boundaries to be like, I'm not going to be shamed into thinking I'm some kind of bad father, because it's easy to do. Every single thing that goes wrong with them, you start wondering, well, what if I had done this differently? Or what if I had done that differently? Or if they start talking that noise, then I'm like, son, I did the best thing. I did the best I could with what I had. And that's that. But I'm here now. So whatever you need now, we can work towards moving forward. But I cannot go back in time. I'm really big on that. Like once you get an understanding of that, there's no time machine. You cannot go back in time. And you really repeat that to yourself repeatedly. You really start to understand and move from a space of the present. Like I'm cemented in the present. I'm not cemented in the past, and I'm not projecting into the future. I'm right here, right now. What can I do now? So that's kind of where that's my mindset about it as a father.
No, that's good. That's good. How old are your kids?
23 and 15.
They're both boys?
Yes.
Wow.
That's really good, Joe. That was really good.
Yeah. What's their response in that? I know you said that they're with you in the healing journey, but what is their response on how they react to what you say about the past?
Like I have a clip, on my page, where my younger son is talking about, how happy and proud he is to like watch me go through what I'm going through, and looking at things that he really gets concerned about me. Like he internalizes a lot of, everything that I go through. So he watches things that should have broken me, not,
Mm,
and he tells me and acknowledges that I appreciate that. My younger son is not a talker, but through his actions, I can tell and see and understand that he appreciates and loves me too. Because we're
yeah.
talking a lot more than we did when he was growing up. You know what I mean? Because I did what I knew. I understood what what it was, and I'm just like, do this, do this, do this, because I didn't get to do these things. So I'm giving you this opportunity. You know, I'm here at your game. I ain't like nobody showed up for mine, and I'm saying these things out loud. You know what I mean? Like it's some kind of privilege, for me to be
Mhm.
a father, not
Yeah.
understand because I didn't have one. So learning and understanding, and I'm just
Whew.
his life is he doesn't know what it's like not to have one.
Yeah.
So he don't know what it is to be missing that.
Yeah, yeah, and again, it's one set of trauma. You're trading it for another because nobody leaves this earth unscathed with
Hmm.
trauma, right?
Yeah, for
We
sure.
are all going to face it one way or another. The thing I want to know from you, Dr. Lene, when we talk about how we parent from our traumas, how do you break the cycle? How does one break the cycle if they have been living in this way and they've been doing this thing and they're parenting from that space of maybe lack or the things that they've been through? How does one first of all recognize it and then like shift that? Is it ever too late?
I don't think it's ever too late. I don't think it's ever too late. I think the sooner the better. The sooner the better, definitely. I don't think it's ever too late. But I think it's self-awareness, self-reflection, and then the desire to want to do better. Like I see these things that are happening. I see these things that are showing up, and I have to challenge myself to some of what Joe says, like, right, take the guilt out of it, because as long as you sit in the pocket of being guilty and ashamed and frustration, you cannot move in it. So once you can kind of let those things go, then you can attack it from the perspective of, okay, I cannot change the past, I can't go back and redo it, so how do I move going forward? What do we do differently? Can I put boundaries in place at 24? Yes, I absolutely could put boundaries in place at 24. It looks like, no, I can't help you.
Yeah,
It looks like you
yeah.
have to do these things. Literally, as he was walking out, he was like, "Mom, I got that job." I was high five. You might have seen it.
Girl, my daughter yesterday, girl, I jumped on her and wrapped my legs around her
Like,
waist. And she about
yeah,
130 pounds. And
let's keep trying. Like I've been 24. I know
yes,
this. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been there. So trying to just even remember that. But the thing that I wanted to share when I was listening to Joe talk about that, and we were talking about past traumas and how do we heal. I have had a major thing with my dad the majority of my life, the majority of it. And I used to blame it for a lot of who I am and why I am the way I am. How come I don't have self-love? How come I was promiscuous? How come I can't find love? I used to blame it a lot. And recently, I was telling you guys this not too long ago, my mom's been going through some stuff, and she's been pulling out a lot of these things from the past. And I had a letter from my dad from 1987 when he was in jail that he wrote to me. And I read it in his voice and his tone, and he was so alive and excited to talk to me. And then I had another one, one from 86, one from 87 and one from 88. And when my dad passed away, we weren't not on good speaking terms. I didn't feel like I got the dad experience I was supposed to have. And so I always held that over his head. And so I would say in the last 2 weeks, in looking through these things, I have found healing in the relationship that we had, based on the fact that I have a picture of the first time that he saw me, the first picture I was ever taken when I was with him. And I have a picture of the last time I saw him. And I had to just start changing my perspective about my trauma and my past. While I didn't get the dad experience that I thought I was supposed to have, and or the protection and the provision that I thought I was supposed to have, I did have an experience. I've known my dad my whole life. My dad has been in my life my whole life. And I just had to, now I'm starting to deal with changing how I view and see that. And as I'm changing and viewing how I see that, it's impacting me and it's changing how I view and deal with my son, who is a man, who is a male. And so I've realized some of the love and affection that I was looking for from my dad, I then put it towards my son. It felt like you should love me wholeheartedly. You should be the one that gives me the love that I didn't get. And that's a lot of pressure that I put on him in the dynamics of our relationship. And
yeah.
so in self-awareness and self-reflection and in healing, I'm noticing as octopus effect on all these relationships that I have with different people and men and whatever the case might be. And so that self-reflection, that self-awareness, that not being afraid to open the lid and see what's in there.
Wow. You know what, Dr. Lene, I think that was so powerful because a lot of people, we see things from a one perspective. You hurt me. I am the victim. I have this trauma. But when we look at it, like you got to look at your dad as a human, as a man, right? And then you said you put those two pictures together, and then you just start to shift your perspective, and it helped you to heal. And I think that's a lesson that so many of us need to learn is we got to look at people a little bit differently because everybody is human, and when we shift our mindset of how we think and how we approach, and not coming from a victim, because these losses that we've had, they're more lessons. So if you shift your mind to maybe look at them as lessons, and I think that you could probably get that healing that you need. But I do want to look at this last video because I think this is important, because I think this is what ultimately affects what we do at. No, we can't do it. No. Oh, God damn, please. Pretty please, producer lady. Just give me. Thank you. We're going to do the video.
We always talk about absent dads, but we don't talk about toxic mothers. Do you see what I'm saying?
What's the disconnect with these types of students that you see?
Nobody listens to them. Nobody separates the trauma from the child. You don't know where they're coming from. They're coming from abuse. They're coming from food insecurity. They're coming from mothers who just cuss them out. You know how we just say, good morning, how are you? Mm-hmm. You get your fucking ass up. Get just like your dad. You're never going to be anything. So when you start programming the child's mind like that, by the time they come to school, I'm still processing everything that my mom said to me. How can I focus like in math when I don't even feel good about myself? Mm-hmm. You get into school, take your hood off, do this. How about, hey, did you eat today? Are you okay? Yeah. You need a hug? Yeah. I don't think people do it on purpose, and I don't think parents do it on purpose, but I think that's how they were raised. You know what I mean? And so it's like, well, I turned out okay. No, you didn't. Mm-hmm. You messed up. And like I said, I'm in therapy. Yeah. I mean, because of the stuff that I went through. Mm-hmm. It's like when I come in, I create that safe place for them. I build relationships with them. It's not all about academics. It's about how are you doing? Are you okay? Did you eat today? I even wash clothes at school. People don't do that. Like, I give my kids like duffel bags, and they just roll up to my office, and I'll go wash their clothes and fold it and send it back home, because I want them to show up at their best self. As an educator, I don't even just look as an educator. I'm a life changer. That's how I look at it.
See, I'm so glad we wrote this video, y'all. I think this is such an important piece of the conversation, is the approach that we have with our children. Is that she said, I'm not just a teacher. What did she say? What was it the last thing she said? I'm a lifesaver. What did she say?
A life changer.
A life changer.
She's out here changing lives.
She's out here changing lives, one student at a time. You know, how they get up in the morning affects what happens during the day. It affects their self-esteem. I remember when, my kids were little, and I would, because I would get up, go to the gym, and then I would, be gone when their dad took them to school. And when I come home, sometimes I come home and they be yelling. I'd be like, you're setting the tone for the day, right? Like, you don't want to stress them out before they get to school, because then they get to school, and my daughter, she was like, I'm bullied at home, then I'm bullied at school. And, so it affects everything that they go through. Dr. Alicia, I know that you are an advocate, you are a healer, but how do we need to implement that as parents, and how we deal with our children every day? And then how does that affect them long-term? What we do every day in terms of like what we instill in them?
Yeah, well, first of all, parents need to ask for help. Mothers need to ask for help, because if you're stressed out like that and you have a lot on your plate, women are holding up half the world on their own, right? On their backs, right? So we need to be able to say, I need help. I need support. When you see a mom who's cranky like that, it's because she hasn't got enough sleep. She's constantly thinking about something that she can't control. Worry is there. She's got a lot on her plate, a lot of things that she needs to manage. And moms need help. Even when they have husbands right there in the house, even when they don't, believe it or not, single mothers get more help than married mothers. These are facts, everybody. So you need to be able to ask for help. Yeah, because people assume because you're married, you got help from your husband. So they don't.
What you talking about, Willis?
These are facts. That's what I'm talking about, Lene.
I didn't get no more help than my girlfriend married girlfriends, but maybe I'm in one of those other stats. I know it's like what 8 out of 10 or 7 out of 10. I'm in the out of
single moms get more help.
Is that from outside resources, or is that from like extended family?
In general, there's an assumption that she doesn't need help because she's married. And sometimes wives are they're thrown into things and they don't ask for help as much as they really need. Single moms, it's okay. It's a little bit okay. But what I'm saying from the video is that a cranky mother needs help. They need assistance. Teachers who come to school who you may say, oh, they don't care about the kids. They do care about the kids. They need support. Teachers need support in the classroom and what they're doing. Everybody needs to support all of the educators and the mothers and the healers. All these people need support so that they can carry out the job that they need to carry out.
Let me ask you this, Dr. Alicia, ultimately, how does that affect them long-term? Like the small things that we do with children, how does that affect them with their relationships, with their finances, with their careers, growth, all of that? Like, though, I want you to speak to that.
Yeah, it's a domino effect. So if you have these traumas for whatever reason, most of the reason why children have trauma is because they're being raised by parents that are stressed out. Most trauma is neglect. People think that trauma is like beating somebody up and all of that. No, most likely trauma that all of us have, all people have in general, is because somebody was supposed to be there for you and they weren't. Someone was supposed to be there to help you and you were neglected and left on your own to deal with your issues. No child should have to deal with their issues and their problems. If they're having a tough day at school, they should have somebody there that they can talk to about it. And most people are left alone. Children are left alone in their problems and they internalize that and think there's something wrong with them. What that does is it makes them feel like, I can't trust anybody in this world. This world is unsafe. I can't trust myself. There's something wrong with me. That's a distorted view of yourself and the world. So of course it's going to carry itself out when you're older in all aspects of your life. It's going to carry itself out in relationships. It's going to carry itself out in what? How to spend money, what you're going to do, putting your self-worth in external things because you need to fill up what's missing inside of yourself. It manifests itself everywhere.
So Dr. Lene, let me ask you this. How do we take that and how do we, in terms of what they do every day when they go to school, long-term effect around relationships, money, career? What are your thoughts?
What was the question? How do we do what?
What she talked about in the video, what she talked about, what they do every single day when you have those conversations with the children, how does that affect, or what can we do to help them long-term in terms of, what they can do around money, relationships?
Not quit, not give up. The one thing so I always make this joke with my mom. We live, I'm not gonna tell a long story. I used to ride, I wanted to use her car. And so in order to use her car, I'd have to take her to work. And from the time we left the house till we got to her job, she would talk. And it's like a 30-minute ride. So for 30 minutes, she's talking. And I might have went out the other night, or I might be doing something different. So I would always look out the window while she's talking, or I might play sleep or something like that. And she would still keep talking. And so years later, sometimes I'll say something to her. I was like, remember that time you was talking about blah, 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 blah. And she'd be like, you remember that? I'd be like, mm-hmm. And sometimes I'll be like, remember that one day you said this? And she was like, you were paying attention? I was like, yes, I was paying attention. I wasn't looking you in the eye and I wasn't giving you, contact, but I was paying attention. So I think we just have to keep talking, keep planting seeds, keep reiterating, keep talking about the budget, keep talking about your issues, keep talking about how you understand, keep opening yourself up. And hope that those seeds take root. And one day that they plant them. It's years later that I'm going back and be like, yeah, that one time we was driving to work and you was talking about that came up. And sometimes she'd be astonished, like, I didn't think you were listening. Well, I didn't want to be listening, but when the time came for me to go into my Rolodex of information, I was able to pull that out and apply it. So we have to keep talking to our kids. We can't give up. Let me tell you, I was a handful. I am in I'm probably in 9th grade, maybe 10th grade. letting the homeboys from jail call me, running up a $3,000 bill at the house. My mom is a single mom of 3 girls. We at the house. She can't pay a $3,000 phone bill. I told you I'm running away with my homegirl at 12. Like, I was a handful, talking to her crazy at work. She had to get in her car, come home, and hit me up. Like, fools is jumping off the patio. I was a handful. If you look up handful, I'm gonna be there like, okay. My mom did not quit. She kept coming after me. She kept pulling me out of places. She kept getting me out of places. I mean, she just did not stop. Like, I don't know if I have that capacity. I do now because I had to go through some stuff with my son, but just not quitting. Like that not quitting piece. I was talking to somebody the other day and they're like, I'm not talking to my mom. You're not talking to your mama. How you don't talk to your parents? Or somebody be like, I don't talk to my son, or I don't talk to my daughter.
That's crazy.
To your kids.
Yeah.
How you not talking to your kids? Like, what could have happened that you ain't talking to, like, maybe a sister or brother, maybe, but your mama, your daddy, your children?
Yeah. Wow. You know, that is that consistency, you know, I think it's really up to us as the parent to keep that conversation going, even when you like you said, I was looking out the window, I wasn't really talking back, I was a handful, I was doing what the hell I wanted to, but continue as the adult. It's our responsibility to make sure that we can continue having those conversations. The whole idea about, even with parents like that are non-custodial, the phone go both ways. You ever heard that? Phone go both ways. Why they ain't calling me? It's on us as the parent to make sure our children are happy, healthy, whole, because what we do now is actually affects them long-term for the rest of their lives. I want to get your final thought, Dr. Joe, on, on the entire subject, and then where can they find you?
Yeah, my final thought is that what you are dealing with is actually shame. It's actually guilt. And those things are preventing you from being your best self. And your best self is a producer. You know, that's where you're going to produce from. Your most authentic, your most whole, your best self. Okay. So when you reveal these things and start talking about them and normalizing them instead of being ashamed of them, then they won't, your intrusive thoughts won't tell you that you can't do what you can do. Okay. And the things that you're good at, the things that you're purpose with, will always be profitable in one way. And if they're not super profitable, you'll be at peace. So either way, you're going to be winning. So how do you heal from your past traumas? You have to go address them, like really stop running from them. Talk to somebody about the things that are bothering you and the behaviors that are keeping you from being what you want to be. Any behavior, any emotion that is coming up and it's feeling like you don't want this in you, you don't want this around you, it's trying to tell you something. No emotion is meant to be pushed away. Run towards it, talk about it, find out about it, and then overcome it. And you will be a bigger producer. You will have less shame, less guilt, and you will produce and you will make the money you want to make and be the person you want to be. You can find me all platforms, Joe Corley, and Real You, the letter U, consulting.com. I really appreciate how, some of y'all are reaching out, and I want y'all to keep doing that because we know we finna get healed up.
Amen. The world needs you, Joe. Natoya said, I had to tell my son that we are going to keep fighting until we get it right. I think we finally got it right. I give no one else that grace. As parents, that's our ultimate responsibility, is to keep fighting. You cannot, I don't care what they doing. I don't care if my kids is out there strung out on, I'm going to keep fighting for mine. Dr. Alicia, what are your final thoughts?
Okay, final thoughts. Everybody catch me on Instagram, Coaching with Dr. Alicia. Okay, 3 words that I have for today. I wrote them down: compassion, mindfulness, and pain. Those are the 3 words I want to talk about. Compassion. You need to try to have compassion for any of the past things that could have happened. Like what Joe Curley was talking about with his sons, having a conversation. It is saying, listen, we can't redo the past, but let me explain to you how I was feeling in that moment when I did what I did that was regrettable. Let me explain to you how, if I could do it all again, this is what I would have done. Turning it into a teachable moment, having compassion. Number 1. Number 2 is mindfulness practices. People, if your system which is what trauma does to you. It dysregulates your body, and you start to notice that your body's dysregulated. Get into mindful practices, start meditating, start practicing meditation, because you will act like a Buddha and be mindful in all of your experiences, so you're not so reactive with the world. Because as soon as you're reactive, you're operating outside of who you know you really are. Number 3, pain. Pain is inevitable, but I'm going to tell you, suffering and trauma is not inevitable. You can fix all of those things. You cannot fix the pain that you will inevitably go through and have been through, but you can process that so you don't have to suffer from it. And you can find me coachingwithdralicia.com. And let's not forget Instagram, Coaching with Dr. Alicia. Follow me on Instagram. Thank you.
I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Thank you, Dr. Alicia. And shoot, you know what? That mindfulness and getting centered has been so substantive in my life, in trying to just do the day to day, everything that you do, just getting quiet, getting focused. Dr. Lene, what are your final thoughts?
What up? So my final thought for today is that, so I am a brand your brilliant strategist. And what I do is I help people to take what they know, what makes them creative, what makes them brilliant, and to create a business around it. And so to tie that to this conversation, when we are operating from trauma, or we're operating from our past pains and hurts, like myself, I operated from a broken little girl, the little girl that was hurt. And because of that, it made me dim my shine. When I walked into rooms, I'll say coward. I've been shy most of my life. I don't really like to talk. I'm a loner. I kind of keep to myself. Like, even if you see me at a conference, you'll see me downstairs. And then when I'm off the stage, you won't see me anymore. And so I have really had to, even with the PhD, I went through imposter syndrome for a year afterwards. And all of that's tied to my trauma, not fully stepping into my brilliance, playing myself small, trying not to bring a lot of attention to me, when God made me great. Like, God made me brilliant. I've lived through, I have seen crazy things, and I'm still here to talk about it. And I believe that that's a lot of Black people. As Black people, we are a resilient community, but we come with a lot of trauma and a lot of pain, a lot of generational things that have been passed down to us. And how I see that playing out with individuals, especially adults, is not living in your brilliance, not stepping out in faith, not starting the business, or starting the business, but not taking it as far as it can go because you don't really know if you can, not putting in the energy and the effort to take your talents and your skills as far as you can, because you don't know. The trauma comes and steals your joy. And so what I do is I specifically work with Black entrepreneurs, service-based entrepreneurs who package and sell their expertise. I help you to live in your brilliance, monetize your brilliance, step out in your brilliance, and know that you are brilliant. You deserve to shine. You should shine, and you should share what you know and what you do with the world. And so that's kind of my final thought: is brand your brilliance, step in your brilliance, live your brilliance, be brilliant, leave the past in the past. If it doesn't make you feel well, if it doesn't make you operate at your highest, if it doesn't make you show up for your kids in the best way possible, if it's tied to anything that's not current and present, like Joe said, leave it alone. Be brilliant every day. Be wonderful every day. Become more self-aware. Take the lid off. Look in that bowl, all the ugly stuff, all the hurt, all the pain. Deal with it so you can pour it out. And then you get to fill it up with who you are today. Your resilience, your brilliance. You're a good mom. You're a good dad. You're a good business owner. You're a good teacher. You're a good educator. You're a life changer. Whatever it is that you want, you literally get to fill your cup up with it. And so you can find me at thebrilliantstrategist.com. All of my social media is there. My websites are there. My courses are there. My stories there. Everything that you need to know about anything that I do, you can find at thebrilliantstrategist.com.
Ooh, get it. I love it. You know what I love about this conversation is that Black people, we have trauma outside of this world. When we go every day, things happen all the time. The thing that I think that we do have control over is what happens inside our homes, what happens with your children. And I think that we have to be intentional. You know, we try our best. We do the best that we can with the tools that we're given. You know, we try to mitigate trauma from our children, and we try to mitigate pain. But you know what? Pain is inevitable, but growth is what's optional. And are we going to grow and learn from it? Are we going to we're gonna stand in it, or are we gonna stand on it? Are these losses or are these lessons? And that's how we have to look at things. I think that no matter what we go through, that as long as we have breath in our body, we can change the narrative. If you have children, it's not too late. If you are estranged from your parents, it's not too late while you have breath in your body. I know a young lady who hated her mom, absolutely hated her mom because of the trauma that she had put her through. Her mom was diagnosed with cancer. She was like, good, I hope that bitch die. Her mom died, and she has been miserable every single day of her life ever since, because when they're gone, they are gone. If you can make amends with the people in your life that you love, no matter what kind of toxins, now you don't got to deal with them every day, but offer forgiveness for you so that you can be free, so that you can heal, so that you can live your best life. One of the things that I do is I work with Black women, and I teach them how to tell their story so that they could sell their story, right? I teach them how to use their trauma as their hardship as a blueprint so that they can help other people. And in the course of my cohort, we came up with an anthology. It's called Unbreakable. We're going to be releasing it in January. We are writing a book. So I have made these ladies in all of my cohorts, all 4 of my cohorts, authors. And we're going to tell the story of resilience that these women have gone through, and this traumatic trauma that's helped them to be the world changers that they are today is absolutely amazing. I want to just encourage you that you don't have to live in your trauma. You can live on top of your trauma. You don't have to be a victim from it. You could be a victor from it. It's okay. Things happen to us every day. A lot of things that I shared, you guys wouldn't probably guess in a million years of the things that I went through. I've been homeless. I've been abused, sexually abused. I've been dated. There's been a lot of stuff that I've been through, and you wouldn't even, less than you wouldn't even know, because I don't live in my trauma. Those losses, those things that I've been through, I use them to help me to get through and help other people. So if you can get to that place where you're able to stand on top of it, then you have the victory. And that's what I want to encourage you today. So all these things that we go through, they're lessons, they're losses. How can it help you to make more money? You can use it as a tool to help other people. People will pay you handsomely for what you have and what you can do to help other people to be able to overcome the things that they have to go through. Where can you find me? Everywhere. I am Constance Carter. You see it right there. If you're interested in being a part of the Net 7 Collective, this is where I help Black women from all over the country increase their net worth by 7 figures. And if y'all come to my page and see all the brilliant things that these women are doing in the world, I am so proud of them. But I also want to make sure that you tune in to Fly Nubian Money every day, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. We are here every day. If you want to learn how to grow your money and not blow your money, go to flynubianmoney.com. And if you want to be alerted every time we come live, please text the word Queens to 87948. That's QUEENS to 87948. And if you are not able to look at us, but you want to still listen to us, go to Spotify and search for Fly Nubian Money. And you can listen to us as we speak the truth every single day of the week. I love this about us. I love this for us because we're able to take any topic and talk about how it relates to us, whether it's us, having highly intellectually stimulating conversations or hella ratchet shit. It don't even matter, because we're not a monolith. And, we just Black people that want the best for each other, ourselves, and our communities. That's the reason why we show up every single day to dialogue with you. This is a dialogue and not a monologue. And we love it when you talk back to us and talk Black to us. So you will see us tomorrow, Monday through Friday. Today's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You're going to see us tomorrow, same time, same bat channel. So we want to make sure that you subscribe to Fly Nubian Queen and all the other channels that we're on, because we're on about 10, 15 different platforms with all of us on here. Make sure
Joe said we got to tell him to tune in tonight.
And make sure you come back. Also, Joe, the thing that I love about Joe, because I guess yesterday I learned that I offended him the first time he came on here, and I told him that he was 1,000% wrong, because obviously he was, but he's changed his life as a result of fucking with me. So now he's super vulnerable. He is super, if you see how he, obviously before he was, I don't even know what he said before, but obviously he wasn't vulnerable. But he actually has a show that comes on. It's called Vulnerable. What is it?
Vulnerability is the new
Vulnerability is the
sexy.
new sexy. I love that
Tuesday
shit.
news.
Don't get too soft on us, Joe. But I love that you have these black men that are showing up vulnerable, so that you could teach us. Because we as black women, we need to learn, and men need to have the space to where they can be vulnerable, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What
Tap in
time do they
tonight,
get on?
Joe.
What time they
Tap
get
in
on?
tonight.
What time?
7 p.m. Central. So wherever you
Which
at.
is 8 Eastern, 5
Yeah.
Pacific.
Yes, right.
Y'all, and what channel?
This one. So we're gonna be on tonight.
All right, perfect. All right. So Fly Nubian Money, Fly Nubian Queen, Dr. Boyce, everything. Make sure you search for Vulnerability is the New Sexy
For sure.
with Joe.
Thank you.
Dr. Joe. All right, y'all. Anything else before we let you go?
No, ignorant. Get off the air.
All right, we gonna see you tomorrow. This ninja, he really want to get cussed out. I'll wait until we get off.
Yeah.
Same time tomorrow, same bat channel. We love you.